Welcome. We're very glad to be back.
In civilization.
Low
tax California.
No, not low tax California, but very nice weather like California. Yeah.
And
I never want to do a winter again, and I don't appreciate New York where people live in places the size of a shoebox.
On the 5th floor walk
and
up.
pay $1 million for living in a shoebox.
Mm-hmm.
In a great location, by the way, though. We were in a great location.
Living in a box, living in a car.
But we've had an incredible time. Phelim, what are we talking about today?
We are talking, just the run-of-the-mill meeting we had with President Trump.
In the Oval Office.
In the Oval Office, as you do. A 15-minute meeting that stretched into a 45-minute meeting. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to show you the swag we got. We're going to tell you the stories. We're going to hint at things that we can't tell you. All that to come. We're going to talk about... Then after President Trump, we went to CPAC for FBI Lovebirds.
Undercovers.
On
the main stage at CPAC?
Yes.
So in front of about 1,000 people.
We're going to tell you all about that. Then we're going to talk about coronavirus.
Because everyone has to. COVID-19. Is it COVID-17?
COVID-19.
COVID-19.
That's heaven 17.
And COVID-19 is better than coronavirus because it sounds more scary.
Do you think, which is the first band that's going to call themselves COVID-19?
Stop it. Move on.
Heaven, what was that
Stop
band?
It.
70.
Go on. Move on.
And we're going to talk about, much as I don't want to talk about someone's personal life, I do really. We're going to talk about, we all know that Josh Fox is a hypocrite and his arrogance knows no bounds, but we didn't know that his girlfriend has an equal measure of hypocrisy and entitlement. We'll be bringing you the full scoop on that in the Ann Phelim Scoop.
And we're going to...
Because that's the way we play with words around here.
And this week is the anniversary of the death of Andrew Breitbart, so 8 years ago this week. And we're going to talk a little bit about Andrew at the end of the scoop. So we're going to start, though, by talking about the fact that we went to the Oval Office this week, which is kind of extraordinary. And it's kind of weird, actually, by the way, when you're in the Oval Office that you think, I'm in the Oval Office.
Yes.
And you spend a lot of time looking around thinking, oh my God, I'm in the Oval Office.
Yes.
And President Trump was unbelievably nice, really relaxed, really funny.
He has that unusual aspect where he looks better in real life than he does on TV.
Yeah, so I think what I've worked out about, I think unfortunately someone does makeup for him when he goes on TV and they put on this orange stuff because he certainly doesn't have orange skin when you see him up close and personal. But he was really nice.
Very
and we were
charming,
meant to go
very
in
nice.
For
not. In fact, the public president is I suppose when he's giving speeches you have to be loud and bombastic and all that. But in person, he's very charming, very personable, very nice,
very funny,
very funny, very honest.
Can we tell a story about the swag room?
Very generous too. Very generous
too.
Yes, very generous. So we went. Let's put it in context. FBI Lovebirds was at CPAC. FBI Lovebirds Undercovers was at CPAC. FBI Lovebirds Undercovers is the play that we have written. And it is the text messages of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, the
verbatim,
the FBI operatives, and then their questioning under congressional pressure about those. It's very, very funny. It's very, very serious. It's teen texting drama meets John Le Carrier coup d'état.
Yep.
So the President Trump obviously has an interest in that because he was the president they were trying to take down. So we went there first before the CPAC, and he was very, very interested in it. And we then take it from going into the Oval Office.
I mean, it was just incredible. And I mean, he was really personable. So it was myself and Phelim and Dean Kane and Christy Swanson, the two actors who played the lead roles in the FBI Lovebirds. And you kind of have that thing when you're in the Oval Office. You think, oh my God, I'm in the Oval Office. This is kind of extraordinary, Only in America, as they say, And I actually did say to the president rather cheekily, because he said, oh, the play is wonderful. Well done you for doing the play and whatever. And I said, well, this is just another example of immigrants doing jobs Americans just won't do, which he thought was quite funny, actually.
He had a good laugh at
that. And he had a good laugh at that. And we got into a huge chat, major chat, talked about the Lovebirds, but talked about loads of other things too.
Well, he also said, did you get the idea from me?
He wasn't 100% sure who got the idea first.
Because he also does impersonations of Lisa and Peter at his rallies, and be honest, we didn't get the idea from him. But when the president of the United States says, "Did you get the idea from me?" The only answer to that is 100%
yes,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So we agreed with him. He expressed an interest in even playing the part of Peter Strzok. He said he could be deemed understudy.
Yes.
He's a great person, very personable.
I think the thing that strikes person, and I just asked a few other people about this actually. I met Molly Hemingway at CPAC and I asked her about it, and she agreed that it's interesting that he's even nicer in person than you imagine he is from the television and stuff like that. He really likes people.
Yes.
And I think, the sense is that I think Obama would have liked very elite people. He'd have liked the people he liked. Whereas I think Trump actually likes everybody.
Yes.
He's very, very interested in people. He had a chat about everything and wanted to, hear what everyone had to say about stuff.
Yes. Yeah, no, he definitely, and there was no sense of, him looking at his watch. In fact, the only people looking at his watch were his aides, very nervously. Yeah. And none of them, very interesting. Obviously, there's a protocol. You don't come in and say to the president, this meeting has to end now, but you come in and you stand and you look very nervous. They just
stand and look very concerned. And at one time, we were asking about different things and whatever, and he was saying things like, Dan, are you out there in the office? And he was calling these names and whatever, and certain people would come forward. But it was very, I was nervous before we got there, and then when we were, actually, by the way, really weird. So we walked from the Eisenhower building over to the West Wing, and as you walked into the West Wing, and the first thing that happens is they take the phones off you. They take all your electronics off you, actually, so that when you go into and by the way, we have no photographs because it was a private meeting, and unfortunately we don't have any photographs, which is a real shame. But you walk in, and the thing that struck me was it's a house.
Yes.
And it's like a real house, actually like a house. So there's a staircase. We went up this staircase to get into the hallway to go to the Oval Office. And it was about as narrow a staircase as you can possibly imagine.
It's a real old-fashioned
house. Oh, yeah,
house
like my family home in Ireland, by the way, we had a wider staircase than it. Super narrow. So we come up the top of the staircase, Magda doesn't even know this, and we're walking along the little corridor until we get to the ante-room where we drop all our stuff. Before we get to the next ante-room, which is outside of the Oval Office. And the next thing just walks out the door, Jared. And I literally was like some kind of, pathetic, I don't know, whatever, pop idol thing. I literally went because I was pretty nervous. As I said, before I went into the Oval Office, I was really nervous. But once I went in, I was super relaxed. But I kind of went, there's Jared. And he just walked or whatever. And you could see people, like lots of people all over the West Wing waiting, I suppose for meetings with different parts of the administration and stuff. So in the end, it was just ourselves and some of the some top officials at the White House, and basically about 6 of us in the room.
Remember, we were going to leave. It was going to end at one stage. And I like those people. What was
I like those people.
What would we say? What was that? What prompted that?
I don't know, but we were very happy that he said it. So I like these two. These two. And then we said, look, it actually got to a stage where
we started discussing the media at one stage too.
Oh yeah, I think you might have said something about the media. Yes. I think there might have been something that you said about the media, and it particularly warmed to that.
Yes.
And then we said we should probably go because obviously we needed to get the 2 actors back because they were on stage at CPAC. And he said, no, I have to show you something. I have to show you something.
I don't bring many people here.
You have to see this.
I don't bring many people.
And he quite excitedly did that. And he brings us off to the side, and we leave the Oval Office and we go down a small corridor. We go like 3 yards. And there's a little room.
A
little ante-room, which small with a window in it. And he then says, this is the room where Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky hung out.
Yes.
And we all know that. So we're like going, oh my God, don't worry, we got it fumigated. Which, he was really funny. And of course, one realises that he is actually a germaphobe and that he possibly did actually get it fumigated. But he has transformed that room into a room of, memorabilia.
And so we got some very interesting swag. Actually, this is what I originally... This was done actually in the Oval Office. So I at the last minute, I decided to get some scripts printed, FBI Lovebirds scripts printed, and hopefully we can show you this in more detail. Take a picture of it. But there's the script, and we got 3 of them signed by President Donald Trump. See there?
And he signed them with the gold pen. And I suggested to the president.
Yes,
I suggested opening the script and writing on the inside. Signing it there, right? And he said, no.
On the title page.
He said, no. You're going to make much more money on eBay.
If I sign it on the outside.
So I wasn't going to. And then that allowed him to actually say to me while we were standing there, he said, I must give you some pens. And he opens up the drawer right at the Oval Office at his desk, and it's all these pens. He just grabs a whole lot of them and gives me them, which I also have.
Sharpies with
his name on them,
with a crest on them.
Yeah.
So we'll probably, I think, going forward, put these out as a perk on some play going forward. We have 3 of them. My big dilemma is whether we give all 3 of them away or keep one of them for ourselves.
But if anyone's got any suggestions, be in touch with us, please. Yes, we're not putting them on eBay anytime soon.
No, we're not putting them on eBay. We'll be giving them out as perks for people who have been very generous and supported all our projects.
Thank you.
So then we went into the Bill and
Monica. The Bill and Monica suite.
Yes, and he produced. First of all, he produced these.
Phelim, hang on, you've got to speak to the microphone.
First of all, he produced these, which he said not many people have them. So they're Keep America Great hats.
Keep America Great hats. Hang on.
Was 45 written on the side.
45 written on the side.
Trump 2020.
And they have.
You can see all this on YouTube for more detail if you're listening at home. So again, we'll probably be auctioning them as a perk, or I don't know, but it's great to have.
They're great to have. And so he also said, these 2 are married, so I definitely want to give something special to these 2.
You can, anyone listening to this on the podcast, you'll get a good view of this on the YouTube. So it's in a royal blue box, Salisbury pewter, made in the USA, and then you open it like this, and you take it out.
I got it. I'll take it. I'll grab it. Okay, and then it looks like a little bit like this, which is kind of amazing, actually.
So it's the White House.
So it's the White House, with
and that's Donald Trump's
signature at the bottom.
In pewter.
So we got a lot of presents.
A lot of swag.
A lot of swag. So it was really good fun. It was lovely, really amazing, just incredible. Kind of an amazing surprise.
He's a very charming man.
Yeah, really charming, really fun.
I think he loves Americans. He loves people.
Yeah.
He loves talking to people.
And there's no formality. So it was all very relaxed.
Yes.
So then we literally had to run out of there.
And he has, I want to say one other thing. He has some very interesting ideas about FBI Lovebirds, Undercovers, the play.
Yes, he does.
And he had some very interesting suggestions about how we could move that forward. So we'll be exploring those suggestions going forward. And but let's talk now about CPAC and FBI Lovebirds, Undercovers at CPAC. The first ever play at CPAC in its almost 50-year history.
Yeah, so in front of an audience of over 1,000 people, Lisa Page, played by Christy Swanson, and Peter Strzok, played by Dean Cain, took to the main stage, and my God, the reaction was extraordinary. Here's a little video from Fox News telling the story.
Dean Cain and Christy Swanson getting a lot of laughs at CPAC with their dramatic reading of the text messages between former FBI agent Peter Strzok and former FBI lawyer Lisa Page.
OMG, he's an idiot.
Oh, he's awful.
America will get what the voting public deserves.
That's what I'm afraid of. Cruz just dropped out of the race. It's going to be a Clinton-Trump race. Unbelievable.
What? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, question mark.
The performance of FBI Lovebirds was shortened from the original 50-minute play for CPAC.
But not everyone was happy, right, Phelim?
Well, no, actually, another reporter in Fox News said we brought down the house.
Yeah.
So we've seen that video. The Washington Post also sent their national arts correspondent, flew in especially from Boston to do a piece on the play. And he says that piece will appear later this week, maybe the beginning of next week. We'll see. And then, however, but a lot of these piece outlets, a lot of coverage actually. We had Daily Beast, Vanity Fair, Daily Mail. Daily Beast did 2 pieces, right? The Washington Post, they sent a national arts correspondent, and then they had an opinion writer, Alexandra Petri.
She was very upset, Phelim.
Very upset.
She was very upset, stating that we should not be doing a play about these senior FBI Lovebirds because they're also somehow private citizens.
Yes.
And how do you work that, Phelim?
Well, they're FBI operatives, right? They're a senior FBI apparatchiks. Like your man was the head of, Peter Strzok was head of counter-espionage. But somehow she's now saying, this Washington Post writer is now saying they're private citizens. Also, Lisa Page has given more interviews on MSNBC than I have, right? Lisa Page has given has tweeted more often than I have, probably. You know, these are now public. She's tweeted about impeachment. She's called for the impeachment of President Trump. They're suing the FBI. They've released they have PR agents. They have lawyers. These are not private citizens. So
or they're certainly not behaving like it.
I call it the Greta Thunberg get out clause, where if you criticize, if Greta Thunberg, we have to listen to her. We must listen to her now. She's a huge public figure, and if you criticize anything she says, how dare you criticize a child?
She's only a child. That's right.
So these are private citizens. These are look at how brave Lisa Page is making a public statement. You can't have it both ways. However, I have to say, even Alexandra Petrie, who was critical of what we did, she was even forced to accept in the piece, and we'll put the headline of that piece up, that a doomed love affair coupled with an attempt to overthrow a popular leader, which backfired and changed their lives forever, and I quote, had all the elements of a grand Shakespearean tragedy. And so it had, actually. It's very King Lear or Hamlet, you know, and that's why we, I think, wanted to put it on. You know, that it was just worthy of this drama. So let's hear, and you're going to read some of Alex.
She's, you know, here's part of what she said.
Is Alexandra
Petrie's column from the Washington Post. Nothing the president fixates on is too pathetic to be beneath my notice, according to Miss Petrie. That is why I went to the Conservative Political Action Conference just outside Washington and watched the play whose team he spent 45 minutes, he, the president, 45 minutes with yesterday in the Oval Office.
That's us. Team.
That's the team. That's the terrible team. Playwright Phelim McAleer has turned the Peter Strzok Lisa Page text and the testimony that followed into a stage production starring Dean Cain and Christy Swanson. I remain firm in my refusal to accept that these are public figures. These FBI employees have been lavishly punished, by the way, I'm wondering about that, for conducting an affair on their office phones and sharing their personal anti-Trump opinions with one another while simultaneously being professionals in government service. Is 3 years of bullying and impersonation enough? Apparently not.
Lavishly punished. These are people who still have their pensions. By the way, I will accept that they are private citizens when they stop giving interviews, when they refuse to take book deals, and when they hand back their pensions, their public pensions. You know, let's be very clear. And also, let's be very clear, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were not just, you know, did not have
low level.
Well, also, they were not low level, but they did not have just anti-Trump opinions. Peter Strzok said he would stop the election of Trump, right? That's not, you know, and he had the power to do it. And he, of course, launched the ludicrous Russia investigation. He launched it.
Yeah.
And he was heading it. And he also misled the FISA court about people's backgrounds to continue spying on a political campaign he didn't like.
Yeah.
So
is it a good idea to have people find out about that? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, and to find out about it in a way that's easily digestible. So having it done on stage is obviously the way to do this.
You're going to read some more.
So also, so Miss Petrie said, could you all turn this into a Shakespearean tragic comedy series, please? One audience member asked. You are Peter Strzok, another audience member told Dean Cain with wonderment after the play concluded. Who? I'm sorry, who? The head, the movements, you don't even look like yourself, Mr. Cain. Who? Why do you all care? Why does the president care? Mr. President, you won. He did.
Listen, let's not give Miss Petrie any further.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, but as she said in the Q&A afterwards, it's very interesting.
Extraordinary.
One member of the audience actually burst into tears. She was so upset by the content of the play. She didn't realise how bad it was. So she cried, thanking us and the actors. And again, the Daily Beast, they wrote 2 pieces. One was a general piece about the play and us meeting the president, a snide little piece. And the other was a review by a journalist friend of Lisa Page, Molly Young-Fast.
Very, very, very neutral commentator, I'm sure.
Yes. And she was quite excited by the fact that she had discovered that the play she called the play a failure, FBI Lovebirds, Undercovers, a failure because it had failed to demonize Strzok and Page. And in fact, she said it humanized them. And however, I mean, it reminds me of James Taranto used to do a thing called Fox Butterfield. And he would take headlines that, you know, the famous one, the Fox Butterfield one was, despite rising prison incarceration, crime rate continues to fall, right? And it's like, no, it's because, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't discover anything, Miss Youngfast. That was my intention. You know, she doesn't realize when we wrote the script, we spent an awful lot of energy trying to find details, humanizing details, and put in as much humanizing details as possible. It wasn't easy because Congress or whoever released the DOJ took out most of the personal texts, the really juicy ones, actually. I'm sure that these teenage love birds sent to each other. But, you know, it's the humanizing details that make this entertaining, that make it engaging and a human drama. And I remember going through the text page by page and the congressional testimony and trying to find any kind of personal detail that would take Strzok and Page away from being pantomime villains and make them rounded human beings. So Miss Youngfast and it's the Daily Beast, we didn't feel, if you think we humanized Peter Strzok and
delighted.
Lisa Page, that was the intention. And I think making them humans makes it much more easy to see what they did and why they did it. These are revolutionaries. They believe in succeeding by any means necessary, right? Whether it's legal or illegal, because they're moral revolutionaries. They were there to stop an immoral election, as they saw it. And we needed to show that rather than them making them some kind of weird, robotic, evil Bond villains. These are human beings.
It's much worse, actually, when you realise that they're ordinary, people, actually. Ordinary people in extraordinary jobs doing awful things.
Yes. So, I mean, there was a lot of coverage. We were mentioned in the New York Times by Maureen Dowd.
By no less than Maureen Dowd.
And she called the play a little play. I don't know, what's a little play?
I don't know. It's very upsetting. As opposed to a big play.
What's a big play?
Well, a big play, I don't know. With a massive Broadway production. Well, it might be that, actually. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, I'm reminded of the South Park episode where, you know, where all the people were protesting against Starbucks coming in, and the bit at the end was, you know, there's no little business in the world that doesn't want to be a big business, and there's no little play in the world that doesn't want to be a big play. However, I will not get a National Endowment of the Arts grant. I will not get funding from Hollywood. I will, you know, so there's coverage all over the place. We're going to put up a list now: Vanity Fair, The Independent, Fox, Daily Mail, Raw Story, Washington Examiner, Business Insider. Oh, and actually today, or actually earlier, then that was over the weekend, and then on Monday and on Sunday and Monday, Lisa Page then tweeted out,
decided to get involved.
So it's going to run and run. She now says the president is obsessed with her love life. You know, we're obsessed with what you did
in your work time. With your work phone, talking to another person that you worked with,
and it's not
about trying to bring down a president who had been duly elected.
I mean, it's amazing what they did, and I think that's why the person in the audience was in tears, because they just didn't realize, and the media is refusing to cover it. And if the media covered this properly, there'd be no need for this play. I mean, thank God the media doesn't cover things like Ferguson properly and Gosnell properly and the FBI Lovebirds properly, because I'd be out of work. You know? So I just wanted to say we're still raising money for FBILovebirds.com. We haven't reached the total yet. We're close. We think it was totally worth it. We were really grateful for your support, especially with the amount of media coverage and forcing people to address these issues.
And people getting incredibly triggered on social media, like Jonathan Turley, who is the constitutional law professor at George Washington University. He has 120,000 people following him, by the way.
He says, I fail to see why this personal mocking of the affair of Strzok and Page is appropriate. It is a reflection of how civility and decency are now strangers to our politics. And for that tweet, he got 4,470 comments. He got 1,367 retweets.
And 6,131 people loved that.
Yes. So I don't know. I think the comments are quite fun, actually.
I think the comments are a lot.
He got a bit of a smackdown.
I think he got a big smackdown. Exactly.
So please go to FBILovebirds.com. Support us if you can. We really appreciate it. it's an important project, and there's going to be more of it. Well, talking of lovesick teenagers, let's talk about the coronavirus. Did you like that segue?
No, I think that's not a good segue. Yeah, coronavirus obviously is in the news a lot, and we're going to. I mean, it's extraordinary. So I went to Costco, panic buying like everybody else, and I met a woman, and she had like this huge trolley full of like massive numbers of toilet rolls, which are not called toilet rolls. We've discovered today they're called bath tissue. Another one of these examples of Americans having a problem calling things the names that they should be called. It's quite funny because I actually spoke to one of the girls at the till and I sort of said,
should it not be restroom tissue?
Toilet
Tissues
roll.
for rest.
And she's like looking at me, toilet roll. She didn't know what it was. But I spoke to this one woman who had like huge amount of toilet roll, and I said, and I just looked at her and went, Hawaii? ? And she was literally on the phone to the husband, where he was sort of saying,
buy 10,
buy loads, fill up the car. So she was filling up the car because obviously there has been a headline in the news that Hawaii are rationing toilet roll, which is kind of extraordinary. But it's interesting being in Costco. It's like, so Phelim and I were in Costco at the weekend, and it's like being in a movie. It's a movie set because everyone's doing this panic buying, and they're all kind of like, but also people are sort of giving each other notes on what they should buy and shouldn't buy. And I'd love to hear from you about what we should and shouldn't be buying. I bought beef jerky because that'll last for about 1,000 years. I got chicken stock. I think that's a good idea. Lentils. What else did I get? Because I thought things like that are really good. I got, by the way, tried to buy disinfectant wipes. No hope. No disinfectant wipes in Costco, even though at the door of Costco, someone's handing out disinfectant wipes so that you can wipe down the trolley. They're also giving out disinfectant wipes.
By the way, do they call them trolleys in America?
Shopping trolley.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe something like that. But also they're doing the same in Trader Joe's. So Trader Joe's didn't have any disinfectant wipes.
Doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that inferior shop.
does not like Trader Joe's.
That's excuse for a shop. Oh, the founder of Trader Joe's died at the weekend.
That. So basically we decided to order the disinfectant wipes from Amazon. And I think it's interesting. I think one of the things that's going to come out of this coronavirus is people's behavior is going to change. I think there'll be people who have never shopped online who will start to shop online, realize how absolutely cool and easy it is to have bulky items delivered to your door for free, and think, why am I ever getting in the car? So I actually think that's going to be a massive thing. People are going to change how they operate.
One thing I noticed was their behaviour may be changing, but some behaviours didn't change. Despite all the panic buying in Costco, despite the rushing around and getting the water, people definitely took the time to stop and test the free samples that were being given out.
Oh yeah, they're still doing
that. Like, oh my God, the world's going to end. We need to stock up. Oh, that's a nice piece of organic cheesecake, and where can I buy that? And
yes.
And then they go down, the pasta, and the cheese.
They're still giving out the free, for now, they're still giving out the free samples.
And people are still eating them.
But on a more serious note, I think one of the things that's going to come out...
Do you think there's nothing serious about Costco samples?
But don't ever talk to me about Costco in an unserious voice. I mean, I obviously take my Costco very seriously. And by the way, everyone else is too, because even during the week on quiet, what should be quiet days at our local Costco, it's basically like Christmas Eve.
Can I just say another thing? There was a article about the Brooklyn Costco in the New York Post, and the manager was saying, I've never seen anything like it. We're doing $1 million a day. Could I just say our local Costco does $1 million a day in a normal year. Yeah, ours is the most successful Costco on the planet.
Oh,
the lights have just gone out. Does that mean that the coronavirus has taken over the utilities and everyone?
Okay. No. On a more serious note, I think one of the things that's going to come out of this coronavirus is that people are going to get an extraordinary education about, and a much needed education about how dependent we are in general on China in terms of supplies. So one of the things by the way, I wonder how many people knew this. I certainly didn't know this. Practically every antibiotic in the world comes from China. So that if things get much worse, it's going to create a massive problem for people who are dependent on, but by the way, not just antibiotics, but all kinds of drugs for all kinds of conditions. It's extraordinary. And actually somebody wrote a book about this in 2018, exposing the risks of America's dependence on China for medicine. Rosemary Gibson and Jen Arden Prasad Singh, and both of them are getting a huge amount of airplay now. Lots of people are asking them their advice. But I have to say, I certainly didn't know that. Did you actually know that?
No.
Well, I think, and by the way, you know what'll happen, which is a good thing, and hopefully this coronavirus isn't going to last. And I think that...
I mean, if only there had been a candidate running for election recently who warned about the power of China over the American economy.
If only.
I mean, people might have voted for him. And, you know, but I can't remember. Was there anyone recently who talked about China?
China.
And renegotiating trade deals with China. And bringing American industry back from China. I wonder what.
So moving on. So one part of this education is this thing about the medicines and how dependent we are on the medicines. I thought that was really disturbing. I think one good thing that'll come out of this once they solve this coronavirus, hopefully they will, is that they're going to start producing antibiotics again. I mean, I just found this one piece of information from that book, this book by Rosemary Gibson. The last penicillin plant in the United States closed in 2004. And I don't know how, by the way, you talk about national security risks. I don't know how that happened, under whose watch that was allowed to happen and everyone didn't go nuts. And by the way, no one reported on that. I don't remember hearing this incredible thing. Oh my God, that's the last penicillin plant has closed. And by the way, we talked about this at the weekend film. If that was the case, right? The last penicillin plant has closed, but there's 4 in Brazil. There's 3 or 4 in France. There's many in UK. You wouldn't worry, right? But the fact that all of the penicillin is being produced in China, I think should have given a huge amount of pause, and I find that extraordinary.
I mean, if suddenly there was a war with China or a conflict with China,
what happens?
They just withhold all the penicillin.
There's something incredibly irresponsible about that. And it's interesting, as you say, if only there was a candidate who had emerged in the last election who worried about the role of China in terms and their strategic importance.
Yeah, and called China a strategic opponent of the United States.
Then the second thing, just to have a couple of stories related to the coronavirus, and we're putting up a visual here, and I think it's really interesting that these two maps, a map showing pollution in China before the coronavirus and now what it looks like now afterwards, obviously because there's a lot of production has gone offline. They've closed factories to try and curb or close down the spread of the virus. But I think that map, what it tells me about is, here's my question. Why does Greenpeace not headquarter all of their activities and all of their activism in China, given the kind of pollution that's been produced there? That map, for me, is extraordinary because it tells a story that is being completely ignored by environmentalists who focus all their energy on developed countries that are already, cutting down on pollution in huge ways. But while China gets to pollute at will and no one seems to know anything about it. But actually, another thing it's an education that's coming out of this coronavirus is exactly how bad pollution is in China. And I think that map is incredible, and it's good that it's actually getting quite a bit of...
And Greenpeace does not go to China.
They don't. No. It's funny that they don't. Why don't they go and tie themselves up against a coal burning power plant in China?
Or stand in front of a tree in China.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't last so long.
No, they wouldn't last so long.
Is that the roof collapsing?
We've got a few weird things going on here today. But the other story coming out of the coronavirus more recently is that it's given the media another opportunity to ridicule President Trump and the vice president. So here's what's Vanity Fair. Oh. And in between these high-level meetings, he told reporters, the president of the coronavirus, it's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle. It will disappear. This is what Trump said. And by the way, that is something that I think a lot of people are saying, that it'll probably work itself out and actually will disappear. And that's definitely the hope. But of course, according to Vanity Fair, unfortunately, according to actual doctors and people who, unlike Pence, don't think you can just pray for Jesus to take the wheel, that's not how containing and stopping a pandemic works. And they just love this opportunity. Yeah. So there's this photograph, you're looking at this photograph now, which of course the media have made a huge amount of the meeting between Vice President Pence and his coronavirus team, the team that are going to spearhead the effort to try and coordinate how to handle things here. And at the beginning of the meeting, they prayed. And of course, this gave the media a massive opportunity to make fun of Christianity and the power of prayer, And here's one of the tweets that came from the New York Magazine and Harper's Magazine writer, Thomas Chatterton Williams, who wrote, Mike Pence and his coronavirus emergency team praying for a solution. We are so screwed. And I just wonder if, for example, let's imagine this for a minute. Let's imagine for a moment that there was a Muslim in the White House who would be praying 4 times a day, right? I think it's 4 times a day. Do you think, I'm just throwing this out to you, do you think Thomas Chatterton Williams would say, we are so screwed?
Yeah,
we are so screwed.
No, he wouldn't lose his head over it.
Okay, Phelim, moving right along. But I just thought that photograph, I actually thought that photograph was wonderful. And I think there's never a reason not to pray and hope to God that things will improve. And I think people's faith is a wonderful thing. And making fun of people's faith is really pathetic, particularly when you only make fun of Christians. I think if you made it a totally level playing field and you were making fun of every religion, I'd have so much more respect for you. But I just don't know if Thomas Chatterton Williams has made fun of Muslims in serious positions, by the way, who have serious jobs but are allowed to pray as well.
Thomas, it's the wrong question, and you cannot ask questions like that of Thomas Chatterton Williams, who is a writer for New York Magazine and Harper's Magazine. Do you not understand? He's a writer for New York. I'm going to say it again, for New York Magazine and Harper's Magazine. Show some respect, please. Well. So, moving on, about... So,
just hoping, by the way, we're hoping very much that this coronavirus thing really does get resolved as quickly as possible. Well,
Thomas Chatterton Williams, a writer for New York Magazine,
thinks we're screwed.
And Harper, we're screwed. So he knows everything. He predicted correctly nothing recently. But, we should trust him on this. So let's talk now about Josh Fox. So Josh Fox, as you know, is the director of Gasland 1, Gasland 2, and then the director of a global warming movie whose name, not that I just can't remember, it's too long, complicated.
Yes.
How to let go and love climate change and love the things you can't accept or something.
Yes.
Something like that. He's done a play, The Truth Has Changed, in which he accuses moi, August us of being part of a $50 million smear campaign against him.
God help him.
God, I wouldn't.
I'd like that.
I'd be part of a $5 million smear. Actually, I would be part of a $500,000
we'd love that.
smear campaign.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
If anybody wants to give me $500,000 to smear George Fox,
I'm so happy to take it.
I'll do it for. Actually, I do it for free, but
you do it for free anyway.
Yes, for fun. It's passion. I get up in the morning and think, how can I smear Josh Fox?
Are we going to talk about Josh Fox again?
Yes. But so he very concerned about the climate. Yes. He's also a Bernie surrogate, and they talk about Bernie bros and deny exist. I think Josh Fox is a good example of a Bernie bro. But anyway, you'd may be surprised to know Josh Fox has a girlfriend. And her name is Kalina Bunn, Bunn.
Kalina Bunn, yes, that looks like it.
So she has written a Instagram post. If I can find it here we go. And she complains about having to give up her parents' healthcare because she has just turned 26. She was covered under her parents' healthcare. It's huge, and she's regretting she didn't get all these things done before she has to give it up. And here she says, and she's really upset about this. And
today is the day I lost my health insurance because I'm too old to be carried on my parents' plans. 26, by the way. Yeah. I woke up in the middle of the night kicking myself for not going to the doctor and getting a checkup on this, or not getting the procedure I needed for that. Last year, I realised I needed glasses, and I was lucky to be able to get the care I needed with little out-of-pocket costs.
So she then goes on to talk about she's always supported Medicare for all. But here's the paragraphs that I found. So this is what, if you support Medicare for all, this is what you're going to be supporting. This is a quote from her Instagram post. I work jobs that I love, and I live a life in which I travel. Why should that mean I shouldn't have good, consistent health insurance? No one should have to sacrifice their dreams to get health insurance. So you are going to be... So first of all, she loves travel. I just checked her Instagram feed. In the last while, she's been to Rwanda, she's been to Brooklyn. She lives between Brooklyn and Louisiana and New Orleans.
Nice.
Right? She's been to Rwanda. She's been to, for the Mardi Gras, she's been to the Virgin Islands, and she's She's been all over. But so Josh Fox. She's
got a very big carbon footprint.
Yes, Josh Fox. I'm not encouraging you to tell your woman what to do, but maybe they say charity starts at home. Climate change should start at home.
Yes.
So, but let me tell you, Medicare for all. Do you feel happy about helping Kalina Bunn fulfill her dreams? I don't.
To go to the Virgin Islands.
To go to the Virgin Islands, to go to Rwanda. I don't care any of her dreams. Like, they're her dreams. She needs to fulfill them herself. And I do not need to pay for them. I have my own dreams. I don't want to pay an extra 20% of my taxes to fulfill her dreams. Sorry, Kalina. Sorry.
Sorry, Kalina.
I'm not really sorry.
Very sorry, Kalina.
So, Kalina.
Not really sorry.
Go and get a job. By the way, I remember reading in the Wall Street Journal a couple of years back. Do you know how much a young man in his 20s, how much fully comprehensive medical insurance costs for a young man in his 20s? $45 a month. They don't get ill for anything.
Yeah.
They're never ill. Actually, that was before Obamacare. And then that pushed the price up. But by the way, it would be the price of flying between Brooklyn and Louisiana, which she seems to, according to her Instagram feed, she seems to do every couple of weeks, because she obviously, her and Josh spent a lot of time together, fly around a lot. I mean, one of those flights would pay for her medical care. So it's let's say it's $100 a night. Let's say it's $150 a month. That's not one of those flights. You can afford it, Kalina. You've just decided that you don't want to make that choice, that you don't want to afford it, and you want other people to pay for it. Well, take one less flight, save the planet, and pay your health care.
There you go. Look at that. Look at you solving all our problems.
And tell Josh that don't be rude to people in the public theatre.
Right.
Remember, he was thrown out of the public.
Yes, he was. Exactly.
Let's put up that headline, actually, because it gives me. This is the play where he says I smear him, and he was a champion for truth and a warrior for truth. But whilst putting on the play, he thought he could tell the public theatre in New York what to do, and they threw him out, and then he claimed anti-Semitism and racism.
And all kinds of things like that. Because
the world is against him. But he's now, actually, and both of them are now, sorry to go on a bit about this, they're now down in Houston canvassing for Bernie. So, by the way, if you are in favour of Medicare for all, you're in favour of people paying for people to canvass for Bernie. So, all of that is ahead of you. Who do we think is going to win, by the way? Everyone's dropping out. Who
do we think is going to win? I don't know.
We're recording this just before the Super Tuesday results come in. So we don't know. It's going to be very... Nobody really knows, actually. Nobody really knows what the... It's going to be a mess.
But everyone's panicking about the idea that it would end up being Bernie. They really are panicking.
There must be the panic at the highest levels of the DNC.
But they really are in trouble, because Bernie is very, very popular, and then and then they have to deal with the Michael Bloomberg problem. And the problem with the Michael Bloomberg thing is that they sort of secretly, an awful lot of them, like the idea of him as a moderate. But the problem is then they have to swallow the fact that he is spending $1 billion of his own money to buy the election.
Yes.
And this is the Democrats who don't believe in buying elections and have a big problem with spending money. And they're always talking about how much money has been spent. They've suddenly gone very quiet on how much money has been spent,
and
because
how
Michael Bloomberg,
money corrupts politics.
You cannot turn on any social media now anywhere and not get Michael Bloomberg.
We were in that house. We were in that house the other day. A kid of 12 and a kid of 8.
Yeah.
And we says, "Who do you support in an election?" And they said, "Michael Bloomberg." And I said, "How do you know that?" And he says, "His ads are up on kids' YouTube."
Yeah.
His ads are on kids' YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite a clever idea, because the kids will then put pressure on suburban mums and dads.
But who knows? Michael Bloomberg might drop out as well. We saw
but the idea that Joe Biden is the alternative. Let's play that little clip of Joe.
This is a very sad little clip of Joe, but let's have a look at it. Phelim has said this before. There's something about watching Joe on stage that makes you feel like you're part of some kind of elder abuse.
Yeah.
But have a look at this. He's doing it to himself.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Oh, Joe.
Oh, Joe.
Oh, Joe, dear God.
You know the thing, Ann.
You know the thing, yeah.
Just think that those people in was it 1776 sat down, and
wrote that thing.
Wrote that document. Mm-hmm. All men are,
by the thing.
That's the name of a movie, isn't it?
No, it's terrible. It's terrible.
It is terrible.
No, it's terrible.
You feel that
There's some. I mean, I don't know how he continues, and I don't know how it is that people are supporting a guy who's in some kind of decline that he seems to be in. It's a worry now.
So okay, he's on a debate stage with 6 other people, so he gets a maximum of 15 minutes, 20 minutes a night, and to be honest, he struggles then to be coherent. How is he going to manage over a 3-hour debate with Donald Trump?
No idea. And it'll be, I mean, you know, people, you could sell tickets for that.
Yes.
This week is, as we mentioned at the top, this is the 8th anniversary of the death of Andrew Breitbart this week. And it's very sad. And what we're going to finish with, actually, and we just
want to say it is sad because it's doubly sad because this week also is the memorial service for Orson Bean, Andrew's father-in-law. So Susie and all the family have been through an awful lot in the last few years. Andrew Breitbart was a very good friend of ours. Andrew Breitbart is the reason we are here in LA. He told us to move to LA when he met us. Andrew Breitbart, when we first came here, we met him. He came to a screening of one of our films, a very small group, and he said, "How are you getting around?" And we said, "Oh, we'll get taxis or whatever." And he lent us his car for 6 weeks. So we were driving around in Andrew Breitbart's car for 6 weeks. That's the kind of person he was. Generous with his time, generous with everything, and we miss him every day. And I just miss him talking about Trump. I miss that so much.
Yeah,
it just
well, you can't even imagine what that would be like.
Imagine.
You know, we were trying to imagine how that would. What would he have to say?
It's always
about everything?
Andrew was always original,
and everyone's saying that too. Everyone says, "What would Andrew say about all this?" You know, and it's such a shame that he's not here. We really do miss him, and we're going to play out the end of this show with that incredible song that John Andrasik from Five for Fighting wrote. When he learned of the death of Andrew Breitbart 8 years ago. And we're just going to play a little bit of this. And for those of you who are looking for this, you can find it on YouTube. So Hard to Say Goodbye.
Here gone, unfinished song. I was there, all is lost. No silver linings, no God's will, no sense of reason. Our heart is still. All that remains is moving on. Lesson cheated, robbed us all. I can't stand to say goodbye. Oh no. Memories not enough. In the home of the brave, you were the best of the lot. There's no replacing this all won't feel. Death is cold and it's cruel, real and unreal. All that remains is to carry on with tears and riddles we'll never solve. I can't stand to say goodbye. I can't stand to say goodbye. Oh no. Here at the bridge we will never cross. Here at the bridge, lost. I can't stand to say goodbye. I can't stand to say goodbye. I can't stand to say goodbye.